Hello, this is The Whole Truth, brought to you by the Greenville County Democratic Party. From local city councils and school boards to the South Carolina legislature and the nation, we provide a clear-eyed view of the whole truth surrounding the decisions, the policies, and the politics that have a direct impact on your family, your neighbors, and you. The Greenville County and the South Carolina Democratic Party have made incredible strides in recruiting extraordinary candidates for elected offices across South Carolina. In many instances, we even have primary election contests between multiple Democratic candidates from which you can choose. Because of this, we decided to interview as many of these candidates as we are able in order to have you be well informed as you vote in the June 9th primary elections.
Welcome to another episode of the Whole Truth Podcast. I'm Charles Morris, your host, third vice chair of the Greenville County Democratic Party. I'm joined by a special guest, Mr. Vincent Coe, running for South Carolina State Treasurer. Mr. Coe is a former bank officer. Former or current bank officer?
Current bank officer.
Current bank officer,
yes.
Certified risk and compliance manager, and a former FDIC and Federal Reserve Bank examiner, currently running for treasurer, so qualified. His platform frames he wants an objective financial ledger to target South Carolina's structural fiscal challenges, which includes underfunded pension liabilities, underperforming infrastructure bond yields, high 529 plan management fees, and an absolute commitment to non-political risk-balanced investing. A lot of buzzwords that we're going to dive into and let Vincent, the expert, actually explain to us. So you've got a deep background in finance, specifically with the FDIC and Federal Reserve Bank examiner role. So how exactly do you apply such a technical, hands-on regulatory experience to overseeing the state treasury, which manages about $70 billion in assets?
Sure. No, thank you for that. And actually, thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.
Of course.
So what I learned early on in my career as a bank examiner, and to your point, things get very technical in the financial landscape. But what I have learned and discovered is that most, if not all, these decisions that have to be made it's basically a conversation, right? And knowing what questions to ask, knowing the breadth and depth of the issues that sort of go on when it comes to financial services, but particularly financial institutions. And I just believe that my unique experience kind of gives me that fundamental understanding of how things should work and be able to identify where there are potential gaps and help mediate and not just mediate, but remediate and, take corrective action to ensure that it doesn't happen again. Because in my world, we used to look at financial institutions from an auditing perspective. We look to see, well, what did we find last time, right? So that's kind of our starting point. Right. And then when we come back in, okay, did you address everything that we had reviewed the first time? Because if you didn't, that's what we call a repeat finding, right? So the issues that is happening with our current treasury, there's don't let the viewers take my word for it. I encourage them to just do a quick Google search and see the Office of Inspector General report that came out, and they kind of laid it out very, very clearly as to what line items need to be addressed. And so from day one, that would be my goal, is to make sure that all of those issues that they've identified is addressed. Okay. And also not just they're addressed, but they don't recur. Because in my world, we look at from a sustainability standpoint, right? So we want to make sure that whatever solution that we come up with, is it repeatable? Is it auditable? Meaning, can somebody come behind us and check it? Mm-hmm. And is it going to be beneficial for the long-term goals of the office? Okay.
I mean, that makes sense. This report that you mentioned, would that sort of be like a guide when you first get into office? I mean, I'm sure you've read it already. Do you have things that you would have already pulled from that you want to focus on?
Yeah, so to be completely honest, and I talked about this a couple times when I've been engaging with the community. I do want to be respectful and not dig too deep into it because I know while the OIG report is sort of separate, but there's another pending open SEC investigation, right? And so what I don't want to do is give the voters and even non-voters, I don't want to give anybody impression that I'm leaning one way or the other, because it really should be an independent, standpoint, right?
Which is what an IG should be.
Yeah, absolutely. But the larger picture, I do believe, though, it's not even really a Democratic issue. It's not even a Republican issue. It really is an issue of integrity and an issue of accountability. And we have to ensure that the integrity is front and center, and our standard cannot be malfeasance or criminal activity, right? That's not the standard, especially when it comes to money. It's about trust.
Hope that's not the standard.
That's not the standard.
It seems like it has been.
Yeah, exactly, and it's I guess because I hate to say this, but our national politics has gotten to that point where until something gets to be criminal, that's when we start to ask questions. No, that's not the standard, especially when it comes to holding public office. You have to have trust, you have to have accountability, and you have to be able to put yourself out there and let the voters know that they can trust you, they can rely on you. Because if they don't have confidence in you, that's big. And particularly with the Treasurer's office, and particularly with the Comptroller General's office, and those offices work in lockstep. And if we're not on the same page, it's not good business for South Carolina at all.
Is there anything more important in the world of finance than integrity?
That's a beautiful question, and the bottom line is no. Integrity is foundational.
Right. Because if you don't have integrity, I mean, where are we going?
Correct. Absolutely. Absolutely. And it actually takes me, again, back to my days at the FDIC. When I started there, that was during the financial crisis, right after the bubble, the housing market crash. Yes, exactly. Banks were closing left, right, and center. And what we found, or the idea was, so the FDIC's role is unique in that it's a regulator, but it's also a deposit insurance corporation. So it's quasi, right? And our goal, or the goal of the FDIC, is to preserve confidence in the banking system, because back in the 1930s, during the crash and so forth, there was a bank run, right? So folks taking all their money out the banks because they lost trust in the bank. Is my money going to be there? And the same is true today. You have to preserve confidence in our Treasury. And so I hear these headlines about, the current treasurer can't count and so forth and so on. I'm not digging that. I'm just saying we have to be careful about the specific language that we use, because at the end of the day, he is our current treasurer, and we have to preserve confidence in the office. It's the office that's important. And again, the treasurer is our state's banker. So if we are saying that our state's banker can't count, or we are saying that our state banker could have participated, or again, I don't know.
So now
you're
putting the system at risk.
Correct. You're putting the system at risk. That's the point. So the point is we have to preserve the confidence in the system. Our Treasury has to be confident. And I'll go another step further. The Senate last year, and I think viewers and voters will see this, the Senate took up an action in the Senate and actually voted to remove the current treasurer. Again, that was based on their separate investigation, their hearings and so forth. So we have to take that information and make a decision. Okay, what are we going to do now, right? Do we allow it to continue to fester? Do we allow it to kind of grow and spread out and so forth? We have to be very diligent and very vigilant in this space, because I've been in financial services a long time, and again, I know it without a shadow of a doubt. Confidence is the start and finish. If you don't have confidence, game over. I mean, that's just the short of it. And I don't want to scare folks, but I just want to let them know how critical this is.
No, I hear you. We got to move past the jokes and get them down to some action.
Some action, absolutely.
Yeah. Let's switch gears for a moment.
Sure.
You're in your platform. You've talked about a gap with state infrastructure bonds and what they're yielding versus comparable municipal investments. Explain that a little bit, and then what strategies do you have to address that?
Yeah, sure.
To maximize return for taxpayers, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And so, and I want to make the viewers very, very clear. The treasurer does not have all these answers when it comes to infrastructure bonds, when it comes to who has the best yield and so forth. He has to be able to have those relationships with the folks who do have that expertise. So when we talk about sort of the stability of it, are we are we investing in vehicles or investing in things that is really up to the modern level that say in the private sector, right? Because that's what you do. You shop around, you kind of figure out the best return that you can get, and not just the best return, but in a safe and, in my world, safe and sound manner. So you want to make sure that however you proceed, that it is done with the right amount of due diligence, and then also that, again, we kind of come back to confidence, that we can confidently rely on those decisions that are made, and again, getting the best return for our state. What I don't want, and I'm not saying this has happened, I don't want there to be, because this is how we've done it, we're going to continue to do it, right? We have to have fresh ideas come to the table. And I even think that there's a strong opportunity to work closely with the various financial institutions that are in this state. There are some very sharp people running these banks, right? You don't just, I will tell you, you just don't step in a bank and say, hey, I'm Joe Blow coming out the street. No, those are some very intelligent folks, and they know how to structure things and have things done that will provide a benefit for just the state, because they operate here in the state, and not a lot, but just about all institutions have a duty to serve the communities that they serve, right? So if they have a vested interest in preserving those communities and uplifting those communities, those institutions and Treasurer's Office should be working together, because there's great opportunity to go forth and what bonds, what else can we do besides the bonds? And again, this is all under the auspice or under the jurisdiction of the General Assembly, because that's where we kind of take our orders from, right? The Treasurer just can't just do things willy-nilly. He answers to the governor and so forth. And so do you want to put that in context as well?
You said something important, which is the Treasurer doesn't have all the answers.
That's right.
And we should never expect one person to have all the answers on anything.
That's right.
But you and I were just talking about this. An expert doesn't necessarily know everything.
That's right.
But he knows what to ask and who to ask it to.
Yes.
And that's just as important.
Yes, absolutely. And I have found that not only knowing who to go to and so forth, but not standing inside of an echo chamber where folks are telling you what you want to hear, because that is the greatest risk that you will have when you're trying to preserve and protect taxpayer money. You have to have independent, wise counsel, I would say, and it's a various group of people that you want to rely on, and just
people who are going to tell you when they disagree with you and they just think you're flat out wrong.
Absolutely. In our world, we call it credible challenge. You have to have credible challenge, because if you don't, your risk. There are things that you just are maybe blindsided, you're not seeing, and we don't see everything. So we have to have those folks checking giving us a self-check. We kind of, even on the political side, we call it checks and balances, right? We have to have those things because they work together.
Have those?
Well, I certainly hope so. I believe we do. I really do believe we do.
I know. Don't but mind me. Don't mind me. You've talked a lot about, we actually talked about this at a forum not that long ago, the underfunded state pension system.
Yep.
So how does the Treasurer even address this, or what is the fiduciary duty of the Treasurer to the state pension system, and how do you protect these state employees' retirement security?
Yeah, it's an excellent question. And yeah, you're right. We did discuss this a little bit before. So as I was sharing back then, and I'll kind of let bring folks back to sort of the forefront now. So there's what we call a defined benefit pension program, and then there's defined benefit, and then there's defined contribution. The current system, and even Mr. Roberts, he had kind of addressed this. The old system used to be a defined benefit plan. So folks who had kind of been in the system, they're guaranteed a certain dollar amount when they retire.
Okay, so just a straight up, you work for this amount of time.
Yes,
this is what you get.
This is what you get, right? So it's a defined benefit. That is great, right? Because that means that's kind of surety. That is like I'm just a guaranteed rate of return, if you will. The only problem with that
used to be the norm.
That used to be the norm, absolutely. But the thing is, folks are now, and it's actually a pretty good thing. Folks are working longer, and how do you continue to offer a defined benefit to the vast, there's so many more people coming into that system and so forth. How can you really guarantee that they're going to get that amount of money if we have enough money to go around? Right. That's kind of what it boils down to. So
let me ask you this real quick, just to make sure I'm on the same page. You got somebody who starts at 25. They work 30 years. That's defined, right? They're retiring at 55. They might live to their 85.
That's right.
So now we're paying 30 years of a pension.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. So when most companies now, or even most folks, kind of moved away and moved to a defined contribution plan. So basically, you contribute, and it basically whatever's in the fund is whatever's in the fund is in the fund. When we say unfunded, meaning if all of the employees in South Carolina decided to retire today, and they have the time in,
right,
is there money available for them to draw that income?
I'm going to guess no.
And you said it, I didn't.
Okay, I'm just guessing no.
But that's basically the point, right? Do we have enough money to pay folks what they're due for the service that they've given to the state?
Right.
That really is the question. And so when we say unfunded, because in the finance world, if anything is unfunded, that means it's a responsibility on somebody to make sure that it gets funded. So that being the state of South Carolina, right? So what are we doing? Do we have a good plan to ensure that our unfunded liability will be funded by the time the folks who have that benefit coming to them? Is the money going to be there when they retire? That's the bottom line. That's probably the simplest way to say it.
Okay. That sounds pretty important.
It's very important. Very important.
Kind of one of the core things you've talked about as well is no political investing. Ensuring that, dollars are judged strictly on the risk and the return, not potential political favorability for anybody.
Yeah.
Most importantly, the treasurer.
Sure.
So how do you insulate the investment decisions of the state from partisan pressures from whoever?
Yeah. And see, that's a really, really, really tough one. And I got to go back to my law school days. I didn't talk about this before. I'm not an attorney. I don't practice, but I am a trained lawyer. And there was there was this court decision.
That wasn't the intro.
I know. There was a court decision, Citizens United, right, where it basically said that money is speech.
Money is free speech.
Yeah, it's free speech. So. You can go look it up and say and that a business is a person and so forth. So that decision has basically allowed for money to be poured in left, right, and center into the political process, and basically, whoever has the most money wins. Right. And that shouldn't be what our democracy is about, particularly our treasury. Right? Because we want to have a treasury that is independent, that seeks wise counsel, that helps make decisions irrespective of political affiliation, right? Because
not bought and paid for.
Not bought and paid for, right? And again, it is not to suggest that is currently at play. It's just we don't even want it to look like that's what's at play.
Because that goes back to confidence, right?
Absolutely, goes back to confidence
and integrity.
Yes,
so it's kind of a full circle thing.
Yes, absolutely.
Here's my last second to last question. Okay. You've also talked about how families, and just, I'll ask the question, and then I want you to define what a 529 is, and then answer it if you don't mind. So you've talked about families have hundreds of millions of dollars locked in 529 plans that have higher than average fees, right, or above market management fees. Can contracts be renegotiated, or how can you help families with this issue? Yeah, that's a great question. And when it comes to the contract answer, I'm going to defer to, again, wise counsel, legal counsel, let the lawyers in the room answer that question. Oh, that's fair.
But usually if there's a change in circumstance or something unique, there's ways to kind of work around it. But again, I'm not giving any legal advice. I'm just.
He's not running for attorney general. He's running for treasurer.
I'm speculating. But the other question was, what advice do I give families who have children who are going to eventually go to college? My advice is to make sure that whatever you are going to invest, in insurance, that's part of what I study as well. The earlier you do it, the better, right? Because that means the risks are a lot lower in terms of we call it we call it a risk, but it's not a risk, right? It's just it's going to take a lot longer for you to build that up, and you don't pay as much. By spreading it out over a longer period of time. But let's say, for instance, you got a kid that you want to they're going to go to college, and you just start saving for them when they become a teenager, right? So you're going to pay more because you don't have you're trying to catch up to probably 4 or 5 years.
You missed out on a long time.
Yeah, a long time to
interest.
invest. Right. So I always encourage, like, if that is the decision that you want to make, be sure to talk to your tax consultants and also your financial advisors, and make sure that you do it as early as you can. But even if you don't do it as early as you can, there are still other options. You should still encourage your child, if they even want to go to college. I want to put that out there as well, right? Mm-hmm. I've been a big college education has been like the life changer for me, right? I've been able to go all over the world, have lots and lots of experiences, and I had student loans. I'm just going to put that out there as well. I wish I have had my parents had the ability to have saved all the money that I needed to go to college, but that just wasn't the case, right? So
that's for most people.
For most people,
the
exactly.
Majority of people,
exactly. So, but to the savings plan, think about. I was talking to a colleague about this about 2 weeks ago, and they were saying, "Well, yeah, I invested money into my kids' plan, but what if they get a full ride or get a full scholarship?" And so they won't necessarily need all that money that we put aside, right? So do we, what do we do then? So, thinking about other ways that money could be used even for secondary education. So they want to maybe pay for the kids to go to a private school, they want private instruction or whatever, if there's opportunities to weave that into it, right? And again, but I'm an advocate of public education. I want to make sure I put that out there too. But it's just give parents the option. So the parents are in charge of the money that they're investing. And again, back to the point about the fees, making sure that those fees are reasonable so that they can get the maximum return that they can. Because again, it is their money.
Right.
And all this discussion we've been talking about, all this, it's the money that belongs to another person. Right. And so really my role as treasurer is to being that trustee. Like you're entrusting me to manage that money, and then I'm going to do it in a way that just like I would for my family, or just like I would like for a person that I care about. So it's a position of great trust, and you have to have folks have to have confidence in you that you're going to do what's in their best interest. If you're not doing what's in the best interest of the people that you holding their money, there's no conversation.
You're right. Trust, integrity, confidence.
Yes.
I mean, that's it in a nutshell.
Yes.
My last question to you. Obviously, you're in a primary.
Sure.
Why should people vote for you?
Yeah, it's a great question. And my constant, what has come to me is, I believe the moment is now and the moment is right. I'm certainly qualified for this role, given laid out all my experience. But it's like all that's been going on in the world, and I feel like there's a question that has been arising, like, what are you going to do? All this happening in Washington, all this happening in the South Carolina with the redistricting and so forth. That question just keeps coming back. Well, what are you going to do? So I said, okay, I'm going to step up and I'm going to do it. I'm going to use the skills that in this financial space. And I also serve a lot. I volunteer. I didn't even get into that. Volunteer all across my community and my fraternity, Omega Psi Phi. I just want to throw that out there.
Proud bunch.
And also the Florence Symphony Guild back in Florence, my hometown, and in the Young Alumni Board of the Moore School of Business at USC. Okay. And what I found is I just have an ability to build consensus. And so I want to carry that over into the office of treasurer. I can build consistency. It's really, again, the treasurer is the state's banker. And the banker is someone that you want to be able to represent your interests, handle your money with integrity, with accountability, and with transparency. And so at the end of the day, you don't have to worry when you go to sleep whether or not the treasurer is going to be accountable, right? And again, not saying that's currently at play, but I'm just saying that should be the standard. The standard should be trust, integrity. Do I have confidence in this person? So that's why I've decided to run, because I've lived my life to, again, not perfect, and I want to make that very clear. No one's perfect, but I'm committed to give my best, as I have done with every single thing every task or assignment that's been given to me. And I believe this is the moment, and I strongly encourage folks to go out and vote. Even if they don't vote for me, I think you should just vote whoever represents your interests. That's who you need to vote for. I know, again, party and so forth, that's important, but at the end of the day, are your interests being served? Are people going to represent you and not themselves? I'm not getting into I did not sign up for this to do this for myself. That's just bottom line. It's not. But that's my reason.
Service.
Service.
Service is the reason.
Yes.
Well, thank you, Vincent Coe, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
That's been another episode. We'll see you next time.
The Greenville County Democratic Party appreciates your time listening and watching the Whole Truth podcast. You can find us on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. While you're there, please follow us, like or subscribe to this channel to help us spread the word. The GCDP wants to thank Michael Fishman from Day Moon Productions for furnishing the recording studio as well as providing his time recording and editing. The Democratic Party needs you to get actively involved and join us at future events. You can find out about them at multiple locations like the GCDP website, greenvilledemocrats.com, and browse the events calendar. You can also keep up with us through our social media presence on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, and Threads. Look for @GVLDem. Thanks again for listening. Let's get out there and do what we can to rebuild our government into one that serves us all. Thanks.